Hey everyone, it's Clint. Welcome to Sweetcast. I had a really good conversation with Billy Tucci last night. We streamed and we promoted his new She book, and it was a good time. But he said something that I think it stood out to me, but I think that it's more important than it's given credit for. And the phrase he used was, "We stand alone together." And the more I thought about that, the more I thought that is exactly the answer in indie comics. And so I want to talk about networking in comics and how it works at its best and how it doesn't work. So we're going to get into that and talk a little bit more. First, Downcast Rise and Fall, still on Indiegogo. People are surprised by this. We are doing Downcast 3. It feels like I talk about it, but I still run across people who are like, wait, what? Did I heard you're doing a third one? Yes, we're doing Downcast 3, starting a new story arc, and I'm fully committed on this one where I'm gonna make it epic. So as in I'm planning on making the story longer for the story arc, and rather than just at first Downcast was like, hey, I want to just make a story, we'll see if people are interested, and your story is determined by the space. This next story arc is going to be what I've really wanted to do with Downcast on a full-fledged like ongoing series kind of level. So it's going to be cool. Back it. Make sure you get volume 1 and volume 2 if you're new to the series, and that way you'll be all caught up when the next one comes out. Fatal is on Indiegogo, one of the best looking comics that you're going to see in comics anywhere. I'm very proud to be working with Charlie Snogans on this book. It is phenomenal. That's an understatement. All right, so Billy Tucci, we looked at this. This is on his channel, NBC coverage of the 1994 San Diego Comic-Con featuring Lady Death and She. Now, in the 90s, it was interesting. Billy Tucci told his story in how he went from getting rejections letters one year, or not letters, like rejection to his face one year at San Diego Comic-Con. The very next year, he had a massively successful comic book, and then over time, I don't know how many issues it took him, but he was outselling every DC title with She. That is insane. The success of that is just wild. And part of that success, part of the decision process, at least one component of it, was talking to Brian Pulido. And Brian Pulido's like, yeah, man, do your own thing. Do your own thing. And so he did. Now, he did his own thing, but at the same time, there was a little help in just that push, really is what it took. I'll tell you, when I first started networking in comics and trying to talk to people online, it's weird because there's this competitive resentment. Like, oh, you want to write comics? And then in the back of their mind, they're thinking, I want to write comics. If you want to write comics, there's not enough room for both of us. Therefore, I'm going to make your experience terrible, so therefore I can get ahead. That's the attitude I think that goes around in independent comics quite a bit, and it's stupid. It does not help. So we stand alone together. We stand alone together. To me, what that means is, at the end of the day, you're responsible for your own decisions, your own book, your own customer service, all of that you are responsible for. At the same time, it really benefits independent creators when you're crossing the lines. You're helping do cross promotion. You're helping with just little things. You get it in return. You get it in return and you give it. If somebody helps you out in comics, it's a really good idea to help them out. I mean, and in little ways. Now, what I'm explaining to you as a network, where this can go wrong is in independent comics. You end up getting into cliques that and it's inevitable. It's human nature, and to force people out. I'm thinking about like the Whisper Network, and then there ends up being an agenda outside of standing alone. If the point in indie comics is to make a book and to be able to be self-sufficient, to be able to maintain the pace, or whatever you want to do in comics, that has to be the goal, and that's your personal goal. It's not a group goal. You know what I mean? Like, you are deciding what exactly it is that you want to do in comics and what you want to make out of it. um, but by virtue of the fact, uh, that you're making comics, there's going to be other people that have similar goals, and it really helps out. Now, Comicsgate has been an excellent network. It's really, really good to get like-minded people together, and everybody is already most people are already on the idea. They realize that that's sort of the point. You make your book, you make a platform, you promote your stuff, and you can also cross promote between other channels, other platforms. Now, what this takes is it takes giving, giving a lot more than you take, giving a lot more than you ask. That's how it works. That's part of the process. If you wonder why I promote so many people's campaigns, I promote a lot of other comic book creators, and that's because it helps me in the long run. Now, I realize that probably maybe like 60% of the campaigns that I promote, people won't really return a favor, and that's kind of expected. That happens. But the other 40%, that really helps me out. And if I'm able to look at somebody like Jason Brubaker, who has been doing crowdfunding for years, much longer than I have, and he's been successful, and he's made a sustainable career out of making comics. When he has a campaign and he says, "Hey, I have a campaign. You want to help me out?" I want to help him out. Why? Because he will help me out as well. That is exactly how you stand together. Now, I'm not going to ask Jason Brubaker to agree with everything that I want him to agree with. I feel like this is where people get it wrong. Like, to try and make it about anything more than standing alone together is kind of silly. So and that's where you start getting into these whisper networks. You start getting into, I don't know, just weird environments online. And I think about those exposés that, was it Bleeding Fool did, exposés on the Whisper Network. You start to see additional agendas that pop up. And when people get wrapped up in internet culture and make that a little bit more important, then at the end of the day, why are you here to make comics? Okay, that's what you got to be doing. Uh, anyway, so I think that was wise advice from Billy Tucci, and I think if you want to make comic books, there's the one component that everyone's missing, and that is you have to build your platform. You have to have something that you can offer to other independent creators, and you're still going to get help. Like, if you want to get help from other independent creators, there's a lot of people that'll help you, but it's a lot easier when you have a platform to start from. Build up as big, whatever you want to invest your time in building, but that's how you do it. In the 90s, you could make a book, get distribution, with a little bit of willpower, you could make it happen. It was a special time for independent comics. Today is an extremely special time in independent comics. I feel like most people are taking it for granted. This is an amazing time for independent comics. And what it takes is some kind of platform, social media presence, and it takes networking. Those two things. Because if you have a platform, you can share it with others. You can stand alone, but you can also share it with others. So one other pitfall I see, I just wanted to mention, is people making a platform and they're standing alone, totally standing alone. And like, ultimately, that's the goal, that you want to be independent. I get that. Being independent is great. At the same time, you're missing out on so much benefit from cross promotion, sort of the standing together portion of that saying. You're missing out on quite a bit. It's very, very helpful to help each other out. I know that sounds obvious, but that's not how it's been in comics. It's been more of a rare occasion to get a helping hand from somebody else that's doing it right. It's been rare. Now it's the norm. It's, or at least it's the norm in Comicsgate and surrounding Comicsgate. Um, and so, yeah, stand alone, stand together. Think that was great. So check out She. It's on Indiegogo right now. I was inspired by that. The book was fun to read. Don't forget to also check out Downcast. Catch up on the series so that you're ready for volume 3. We're going to have it finished or near finished, very close to finished when we launch the campaign. So that'll ship quickly. And then Fatal, don't forget to back that. We're almost at 1,700 backers. This is amazing. So really appreciate everyone's support. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Did you read She? What do you think about this comics networking thing? I'm sure I could flesh this out more. It's really a huge component, seriously, to being successful in indie comics is networking. So I want to know what your thoughts are. And thank you. I will see you tomorrow.